Hello and welcome back to our next geography lesson. And today we're going to continue to think about contour lines and how they show us the height of the land on a map. Now, obviously, last time we looked through how contour lines were shown and what we can do. We're going to continue to develop that, and then we're going to have a look at answering some questions. So, the first thing we think about is actually what contour lines are. Just a quick reminder. So contour lines show us how the level of the land above sea level. So imagine this is an island. The grey area around here is sea level. This is what we would see on a map. You'd see these concentric lines coming in with the number next to them. This is the number of meters above sea level it's at. So if we were to make a 3D representation of this island, it would look like this, with it going up to a peak in the center here with a small extra peak on this side as well. And then you can see how this relates to each other. So we've got a 10 meter, this is 20, this would be 30 and it goes above it. So this is our 10, this is our 20, this is our 30. You can see it doesn't quite reach the 40 line, which is why the top doesn't have it there. And this is how contour lines work. And they allow us to know whether we've got a steep incline, a shallow incline, how high we're going. And they really, really help us when we come to think about what we can do with the information we're given. So we looked at this before, and we looked at steep slopes and shallow slopes and how contour lines can help us understand that. A really shallow slope here, whereas this is a very steep slope, and the same down here. Look, the closer the lines are together designates whether it's steep or shallow slope. So if you imagine the lines being very close together, what you're saying is that this jump up, you're going up in elevation, so from 10 meters above sea level to 20 meters above sea level, very, very quickly. And that means the slope must be very steep to get there. Whereas if it happens slowly, it's happening over time, and you can imagine that the slope is very shallow because the lines are spaced far apart. So your task at the end of last week was to match these up. So let's go through the answers. First one, 1 and E, and you can see that you have a shallow dip, but a small bound here and a slightly higher one here. Then 2 and I, so you've got two similar height ones with a slight dip in between, no steep sides on this one, and there. We've got 3, this just very gentle mound going up over the center is A. You can just see steep on the sides, which means it's very close here, and then gentle in the middle. Then we've got 4, which has multiple peaks. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3 peaks with a few troughs. So that's F. 5 here, 2 peaks on either side, steep slopes on the far sides and shallow in the middle. And that's G, steep on either side with shallow in the middle. Look. Then we move on to 6, which is singular hill and relatively uniform, which is H, which means generally speaking it's the same. 7, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 peaks, and you can see it's steep here. So what we're looking at in this case is B, which is this one here. 1, 2, 3, 4 peaks with it being steep here. There. 8, you've got 1, 2, 3 peaks again, steep on either side, steep coming down with a mound in the middle. So that's going to be J. 9, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 peaks again. This time just 2 peaks which are similar height up here, a little saddle in between them, steep on this side, steep on this side, with a small mound in the center, that's C. And then H, this dome with a small peak on the outside is D, which is this one here. So here are 5 contour maps of hills. Can you see whether you can draw this side profile for these contoured maps here? Pause now and have a go. Okay. So hopefully you've got those and you can check your answers. The first one here, 2 peaks, relatively not very steep, so you might see something else. You could see a slightly less of a dip in between there. This is quite a standard hill. just going up and coming back down again. This one here, shallow on one side, steep on the other to a peak to one side, like that. This one here, we've got quite a shallow hill with it petering out, like very shallow, going out on one side here. So you might see it somewhere like this. Also, there's not a peak on the top here, so it might be flat, might be a bit of a plateau on the top. And then we've got 3 peaks here, quite low, going across like that. Okay. So finally, here's a map of Slough. First off, can you find TLAP? Can you maybe even work out where you might live if you're on this map? And then can you find the contour line to see how high Slough is above sea level? Have a look, see what you can find. Okay. So a nice quick one there, again about contours. And it's really just making sure that we understand them because they're quite an important feature of maps, and they tell us a lot of information and actually can show us why a town may have grown up how it did or where it did. If you think about some towns, they are actually built deliberately on a hillside or in a valley, and we could only tell that on a map by looking at the contour lines. I hope that was easy to understand. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.